talk to me about either of those. If you can get in the room with the casting director, more often than not, that's better, because you as a person will be able to sell it oftentimes more than you will with a tape or your performance will. If you have to tape, more important than your camera, more important than your framing, more important than the action is your lighting. Your lighting has to be right. And it's worth going online and looking at short lighting tutorials just to learn about how to do it, because light alone will add production value to whatever you're doing. So you can make your tape look 10 times better just by having the right light in there, and people will sit up and pay attention to it. I certainly wouldn't begin production on any of my own material unless I'd workshopped it with a group of actors first, and like you're saying, written it with a group of actors. Like today, workshopping with Jim, it's an opportunity for him to be safe and secure in an environment where he can bounce ideas around, and whether they work or not doesn't matter. It's just important that we can have as much aperture as possible when looking at the material that we're working with. And that's what that process will give you. And it also helps you to lose any self-consciousness as an actor as well. So again, the experience of sitting in a room with 30 or 40 people all watching you intently is no harm, but also knowing that these are people who aren't going to judge your performance either. They know that you're working at something. I don't know if my own process has changed so much. I think it's more adaptability with the director that you're working with, and the clear path of collaboration with different people. For me, it's just a case of you have to be comfortable in your own skin when you walk on set, and know that you're there for a reason, and know that you have your own interpretation of whatever it is that's just as valid as anybody else's ideas. And if you're comfortable and you can sit into that and not be self-conscious, then it doesn't matter who you're working with or what they're like. You'll find a way to be able to relate to them separately to that. The world at large seems to think that a great performance comes from the ability to put on and drop loads of weight and drastically change your physicality. But that's not actually acting. It doesn't have anything to do with acting. And if you can't convince your audience and you can't make them sit there with you and be in it without having to do those things, then they're pointless anyway. But, if you're going to walk into a casting office, you want to be, and you're going for an athletic character, you want to be in a sort of athletic shape. It's important to be active and to be fit and healthy, not only because that's what your character might demand, but also because it's a very demanding job and it's very difficult, and you need to be at your peak health and physical and mental condition as much as you possibly can to cope with it. Well, being part of the Factory Actor Studio, which is now Bow Street Studio, was an invaluable experience for me and for a lot of the other contemporaries that I have who've gone on to do other things from that place. And the reason being is just that it's an environment that's safe, where you can afford to experiment and be expressive in a non-self-conscious sort of a way. And that's really important to help you to grow and develop. There's no egotism in an environment like that, which means it's just fertile soil for you to be able to hone your skills and to develop yourself as an actor. Yeah, well, the worst thing that you can do is walk into a casting director's office giving them the impression that you need the job and that you do anything for it, which is funny because that's a complete paradox in a lot of ways, because everybody's going to tell you, oh, you got to make it like everyone is the last one, you know what I mean? And that's not the case. In fact, the opposite is true, and you have to be confident that your talent and your ability and your skill will naturally carry you through the process. And the most important thing about walking into a casting director's office is to leave an air of mystery about you. So knowing when to get out of the room is just as important as knowing your performance and, you know, what you want to do with the character. That's certainly my experience with Maureen Hughes anyway.